Iwo Jima was hell. Out and out hell. But the desperate Japs set the price high in American shot and shell and men. Medical units of the 4th and 5th Marine Divisions went in on D-Day itself, shoulder to shoulder with the fighting Leathernecks, shoulder to shoulder with young Americans whose cries of victory on this alien island would soon muffle their buddies' cries of pain and anguish. Pain that shuddered through men's bodies as soon as booted feet hit the beach. And there, right on the beach itself, the job of the medical department began, the carefully planned job of caring for the wounded and evacuating the casualties. Planning that had its beginnings way back at Pearl with the loading of complicated medical cargoes. Vital cargoes that, because of the fierce fighting ashore, couldn't all be swung aboard LSTs and trundled to the beach until D+7. Within the shadow of the hump, Medical Company A set up operational headquarters under a whining blanket of crisscrossing shells. About a mile and a half away on the other side of Iwo, companies B and C joined to function as one medical unit. To the north, 60,000 men of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marine Divisions were pitched in grim battle. Casualties soared to 1,000 a day. At battalion aid stations right at the front, the first link in the long chain of medical evacuation was forged under the vicious hammering of Jap shells. Casualties previously located and treated by Company 8 men had to be brought in under fire. Shell holes and even shallow depressions hidden from enemy eyes became aid stations for emergency treatment under the direction of medical officers, where splintered limbs could be immobilized, where plasma or whole blood could be administered to halt the ebbing flow of life. And where shock or pain could be relieved and hemorrhages controlled, so men could be moved farther back from enemy fire and make way for the steady, pitiful stream of the incoming wounded. Casualties too seriously wounded to go direct to evacuation points were given further treatment and emergency surgery in hospital tents and huts less than a mile behind the scrambled front, where hollow-eyed doctors sweated out hour after sleepless hour, often with death leering over their shoulders. And still the casualties came. No time was wasted anywhere along the line. Lives hinged on speed, on immediate treatment, often by specialists hundreds of miles away. Men whose wounds of the body or of the mind were grievous enough to need it were evacuated directly to the airstrip to be flown out of this hinge of hell. Others were loaded gently for a return trip on the craft that had brought them here so recently. Hundreds of small craft flew their crosses back and forth across the blue Pacific water with their cargoes of wounded, from shore to hospital ship and back again, over and over, on and on, to the quiet and peaceful hospital ships where all that was humanly possible was salvaged from the blind inhumanity of war. Where the best in Navy medicine waited to make men whole again. The equipment and the staff for the most complex surgery were aboard these ships, planned as minutely down to the last detail as the whole program of evacuation. A system of evacuation which cared for all the wounded of Iwo, all the 20,000 wounded who helped make Iwo Jima a stepping stone to Tokyo, the price of final victory. But these wounded and the dead, they were the real price of Iwo. The bristling, relentless Jap was not the only enemy Navy medicine had to cope with. Fortunately, there were no insect-borne diseases common to many Pacific islands. There was no dank vegetation or swampy muck where insects could breathe. Nothing but the powdery gray volcanic ash that seared men's lungs. But even so, the medical department played it safe. For the first time in the thick of battle, planes droned back and forth, spraying the entire area with DDT. Screening of galleys and thorough cleaning of mess equipment under constant medical supervision prevented outbreaks of dysentery and other diarrheal diseases. Fed from the sea, an elaborate purification unit was set up to provide plenty of fresh water. For the water brought in laboriously by ship didn't last long. 25,000 dead Japs had to be sprayed with penite. No medical stone was left unturned on this rugged little island in the Navy's determined campaign to ensure survival of the wounded and to prevent epidemic attacks on the well. The campaign was a success. Navy doctors, nurses, and corpsmen from every walk of American life chalked up another victory for Navy medicine. They completely prevented epidemic outbreaks during this bloody excursion in hell, and they healed 98% of the men wounded in the historic battle for Iwo Jima.